Welcome everyone to the Flux Dev Meeting. It's March 5th.
Hello, everybody. Uh, cool. So I guess we can start with some updates about the release. Uh, let's see. Yeah, we released it last week, but there was no recorded meeting. So yeah, we released Flux 2.8.0 last Tuesday, last week. Um, the blog post is live. This comes with Helm 4 and a lot of other things. On Friday, we released Flux 2.8.1, fixing a couple of bugs. One was notification controller git commit status stopped working. We fixed it. And the other one was due to Helm 4 that comes with case status health checks. So uh, actually, one of the core maintainers of Flux, Relu, I don't know how to speak his handle. I think it's Relu. He found an issue with transient failures when a stateful set is like restarting pods and the pods with like it was not even a failure. It's just like when a pod hits the limits of the cluster and the cluster autoscaler has to kick in and the pod is unscheduled and then things like that were being propagated back to the pod controller, which is the stateful set in this case, that as a failure. So the stateful set was being observed by case status as failed, which is a terminal state in case status. And that's incorrect because autoscaler bringing up nodes is not a terminal failure. So, and why is that relevant? It's because our case status code stops waiting for the health checks when at least one object has in Helm controller in this case, which where we hard coded fail fast boolean. So uh, when the fail fast boolean is passed to server side apply, the manager stops waiting as soon as it sees at least one object in the failed state because that means the release has failed. Even if other things become ready, doesn't matter if there's at least one object that failed in the terminal failed state, in the failed state, which is terminal, um, that means the Helm release failed. And that's not true. The fix, so Relu filed a fix in our fork of case status for this to correctly read the pod status when evaluating the health of its controller, the stateful set in this case. The fix is shipped. We've actually also shipped this. This actually was there for customized controller as well for a long time. I guess maybe people were not like deploying stateful sets with customized controller, maybe, or at least not hitting these scenarios where nodes have to be brought up and etc. Anyway, fix went to both customized controller and Helm controller. So notification controller git commit status, customized controller and Helm controller case status fix. And yeah, of relevant in 2.8.1 is just those two. Also, we have another um, patch release scheduled for 1 week from now, exactly, the 12th, which is one day after. Helm's next patch release, which is 4.1.2, which may have a fix that I filed for a bug. So this one is not a big deal, like it's easy to work around it, which is uh so Flux, regardless if you configured post renderers or not in the Helm release, we always pass a post renderer to the SDK. Even if it's empty and no op, when in Helm 4, so this is a regression from Helm 3, when in Helm 4, Helm has to process post renderers, now it uh, parses the serialized YAML to inject some annotations for tracking some things and serializes it back to pass it to the post renderer. This parse and reserialize was not a thing, did not exist in Helm 3, but it does exist now in Helm 4, and this process was um, causing, when in Helm Go in Go templates actually, when you do double curly hyphen, that eliminates the white spaces, the line breaks and white spaces in general between what's before and that opening double curly. So the things were being rendered like hyphen, hyphen, three hyphens, and API version, for example, in one line. This is obviously a bug, right? Like there's no API version, whatever, something craps out. Uh, so I filed a fix to inject this line break back. You can work around this by not using the hyphen after their two curly braces because that that hyphen is specifically for removing the white spaces between what came before and what comes after. So if you just don't use the hyphen, then you're good. So not a big deal. Anyway, coming if they merge it, I pinged the two maintainers, the Helm maintainers that were triaging it recently. Didn't see they do anything. But yeah, if they look into it and it's merged for March 11, Helm patch release, it will be in, and we're waiting for that to do Flux 2.8.2 in the day after. There's also Azure fix. Thanks, Dipti, for reviewing it for container registry. So user filed a PR to um, use like a dedicated scope, right, for ACR, if I remember correctly. So ACR accepts both, and this one is probably better for some reason,
Like
right?
least privilege, like it has lesser privileges than the broad arm
All
scope.
right, right. Yeah, so that is getting into Flux 2.8.2 as well. And
Will we have 2.8.2 regardless, even if the Helm fix doesn't come in for the ACR scope token, or will that be pushed till if the
well,
Helm
I
fix
guess that
gets
depends.
delayed?
How is this bug really impactful, the ACR one?
It sounded like the customer was waiting for it because the way they have created their ACR, it's not working with the ARM scope token. It would
Right,
only work with this lesser privileged one.
right. I mean, yeah, we'll see. I mean, there could even be something much worse that pops out today, and we have to do a patch release tomorrow. So,
Yeah. Was also curious about the previous two issue, the case status one. Does it impact like only the Helm 4 was being used only by like for newer Helm releases, right? So does it impact anything existing or
if you upgrade, yeah, because so in Helm 4, there's two major things that changed, which are server-side apply and health checks.
mm,
Server-side apply is stateful, like they like store in the release, in the release storage, in the secret, if it's server-side apply or not. So, for example, nothing will change server-side apply until somebody changes the Helm release configuration. But that's not true for health checks. Health checks are not stored in the state. It's always the new default behavior, which is case status. So that's why it's a bit impactful.
Mhm.
You can change, we have a feature gate to change the defaults. So you can, it's literally called use Helm tree defaults. So that means that when you add a new Helm release, the install will use client-side apply, which is no longer the case in Flux 2.8 by default, right? The new default is server-side apply on install. And you can revert that to client-side apply with this feature gate. And the same for health checks. So you can use the legacy Helm waiter as well when you use this feature gate. This feature gate is basically for these two things, these two defaults. The server-side apply on install goes back to client-side, and health checks go to legacy health checks. Yeah. Which will, like, you also have object level support to fine tune these things as well. So like if you don't want to use the feature gate, you can also just like it's your there's just this Helm release here where I need the old behavior. You can do that as well.
How is there a spec parameter for that? How would you go
Yeah,
about
exactly.
doing that?
So I think yeah, in more detail actually in the change log of the if you go to Helm controller change log in the repo, it's everything there in details, the names of the fields. So it's like spec.install.server-side apply, spec.upgrade.server-side apply. For health checks, you don't, it's object level, it's not action level. So like server-side apply, which is action level. So you choose spec dot wait strategy dot name to legacy or polar.
Okay.
Polar is case status.
Mhm. And the GitHub commit status, what was the issue there with the notification being true?
We did a refactor because so in notification controller, you had this check of if this is a git commit status update, drop the event in most of the providers, which
Oh,
are like we have like I don't know 20 providers that are not commit status and 6 commit status providers. So the majority of the providers had to deal with something that is not related to them. And the refactor was move that check from the providers to a single place. And this refactor broke the feature. So we basically fixed it after this refactor.
okay. Makes sense.
Yeah. So yeah, I guess, is there anything else? Okay, there's one more. Yeah, that somebody opened an issue about so in Flux 2.8 we now have these two features in the same feature in customized controller and Helm controller, which is health checks cancellation, right? So when you get a reconciliation triggered when there's already a reconciliation going on for an object, we can cancel the health checks. That's good because you don't want to wait for a 1 hour timeout uh when like let's say you messed up the release, you there's a typo in the image that will cause uh like the Helm release to get stuck for the whole timeout, right? To before this feature you would have to delete Helm controller, and now if you enable this feature, it's a feature gate, cancel health check on new revision. And the name is a bit misleading because it's not just on new revisions. It's on every single watch event that triggers a reconciliation for the object. What does that mean? It means spec changes in the object, revision of the source, watched config maps and secrets with values from and customize post substitution, right? So every watch that the controller has will cause the cancellation because it means that the object was requeued, right? Re-added to the controller runtime queue. There's going to be another reconciliation immediately after. So it's safe to cancel when health checks when that happens. And when I say health checks, it's really just health checks. We don't cancel apply, right? So we don't stop the controller from applying in the middle. The cancellation is only for health checks. So uh, and why the name of the feature gate is weird and says revision when it's actually more than that. It's because in 2.7, as a last minute change, we shipped a feature in customized controller only that would watch the revision only. So we had actually like a go routine in the reconciliation that would keep looking at the revision, and if it changed, we would cancel the health checks. We found a much better implementation for that that not only works for source revisions, but for all the other things that cause a reconciliation. But it was too late to change the name of the feature gate. So we just added this extra behavior to this feature gate in customized controller, and in Helm controller we introduced it for the first time with the entire behavior. So it was always everything from start in 2.8 for Helm controller, um, but with the same name as customized controller because we want parity between these two controllers.
These feature gates, once they're introduced, we cannot change the name or remove them, right? Because if there is somebody using it, then they would break
Yeah.
once we have introduced. So once we have any feature gate, we can never go ahead and like remove that
We
feature gate.
so it depends on the type of feature gate. I mean, feature gates are always feature gates, but some feature gates are for introducing like this one, for example, this behavior. This is a behavior that is very desired by it's hard to find someone who will not want this. You will never want to wait for a full timeout if it's totally pointless, if it never recover, right? Like you need to fix you need like you put a typo in the image. The only way to fix that is with a new reconciliation that will fix the image, right? So you're gonna waste a lot
Wait
of
for
time. Yeah, exactly. So this is a feature that we think that everybody will want. So this is an example of feature that the feature gate would behave as in Kubernetes feature gates, where they are introduced to become so like it's a new behavior. The feature gate is introduced as opt-in in some version. Then later it becomes
opt
opt-out.
out.
And then later it becomes an info log on startup because you cannot no longer opt out. It's always enforced. And you are let know that this feature gate on or off has no effect. And then later we actually remove it altogether and you don't even get that. So it's ignored with a warning and then it's totally ignored because it's totally removed. That's how we never did that in Flux actually, but that's something we've been discussing, and that's what I want to do with similar feature gates going forward. This one especially. Also, object level workload identity, like feature workload level workload identity is just like it's just like this behavior, right? Like it's just a feature that uh if you don't have the gate enabled, the feature will not be allowed. And and it's still opt-in. You still have to, even if you enable the gate, you still have to opt in into the feature. So makes no sense to keep this feature gate forever. So this is another example. So feature gates like this, in my opinion, should have this life cycle of opt-in, opt-out, info, removed.
For like
S-
object identity, like the object level workload identity in particular, I think I don't know about the default Flux installation, but at least in the Flux extension, we use that gate to also decide if we want to extend the RBAC for the controllers to be able to mint those service account tokens. So in terms of that, it actually reduces the RBAC scope if you've enabled object level workload identity or not. So that way, it kind of does more than like even if you suppose you're not interested
mm,
in using the feature at all, then you would not have that extended RBAC for your controllers, which kind of makes sense from like a security standpoint.
right. Yeah.
So if we had
Uh,
it by default, then it would have that extended RBAC all the time, irrespective of if they're using the feature in the spec.service account name or not, right?
right, but the feature gate is just a CLI argument, like it's a binary flag, right? So it doesn't actually create the RBAC or not.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
I bet that
not in the default installation. There, I think the RBAC is already there, right? Now when we install like 2.7.4, for example, the controllers would have service account token create RBAC by default.
yes, yes. Yeah, actually in Flux, like we don't have a toggle for that anymore. Like we in vanilla CNCF upstream CNCF Flux, you always get that RBAC, right? So yeah, so let me understand this. So in Azure Extension, you check if the gate is enabled as a flag in the controller to additionally create the RBAC.
No, so along with there like it's a Helm chart, right? So the user has the option to enable this feature gate, and when
Oh,
it is
okay.
when they enable that in the Helm values, we would add the feature gate in the
Oh, okay.
controllers as well as extend the RBAC.
Right. Right.
So
So for you, you could fix it like if we start ignoring this gate in the controller, you can still have this Boolean in the chart to uh
extend the RBAC or not,
add the RBAC or not. Yeah.
just not use it to
Yeah. Yeah,
add the
exactly.
feature
So
gate.
exactly. So in your extension, you could still use this chart field to change RBAC, but on the controller side, it doesn't matter anymore, right?
Mhm. And like the
I
feature gate, you
guess
said like if the because when I was testing this, I noticed that if the feature gate is removed, then when we do the parsing, and if it's passed as a parameter in your Helm controller, and if the feature gate is removed in the code, then it kind of errors out saying that this feature gate
yes,
does not
yes,
exist. So
exactly.
do
Exactly.
we ever go and remove these feature gates? That was the reason why I asked that question.
Yeah. So yeah, that's something I brought up as well in the discussion. Like if we actually follow through and do this feature gate life cycle thing, we need to remove this behavior of crashing the controller when
Hmm.
a gate is
Is
there
not
but
present.
is not recognized. Yes.
Hmm.
So so yeah, that's something we need to change if we follow through. But it's fine, right? Like
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
just
yeah.
like it's
As
a
long as it
validation that
doesn't
exists
crash. Yeah,
today.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah. As
exactly.
long as it
Like
doesn't crash, it's
yeah, like it's a validation that exists today and can be removed without problem,
fine.
right?
Makes
So
makes
if
sense.
if we ever remove a gate, that that's something that we're gonna need to do. Sorry, 1 second, I gotta. Oh, sorry, this was actually a delivery. I asked him to come back tomorrow. Uh, okay. Sorry, where were we?
Yeah, I think just the feature gate. I think it's all clear now.
Cool. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, if we ever remove a gate, we're going to remove also the validation that crashes the controller
Mhm.
if the gate is not recognized. So yeah, we got that tracked. Um, cool. Um, but some feature gates cannot at all uh be like this. For example, actually back while we're talking about this, right? Like in this new feature gate for cancellation of health checks, somebody found a problem. Like they have imagine you have a simple ham release that most fields are not specified. You're using mostly defaults. Except for except that you have a 25-minute timeout. When you have a 25-minute timeout on a ham release, that tells me that you really don't want it to fail um, for easily, right? Like you really don't want it to fail and try again and etc. So this person enabled the new feature gate for health check cancellation, and they they found a bug where it's not. I mean, I'm not sure it's a bug, but basically, um, there was this situation where the a new reconciliation was triggered when the ham release was being reconciled by ham controller, and this causes the cancellation. And this being a ham release with a 25-minute timeout, I think this person was unhappy with this behavior. And the default retry policy for ham release is not to retry, right? Uh, like it's actually a bit concerning. Like there's by default, if you don't configure anything about retries or remediation, the ham release fails and stay failed, like a timeout. Like you reach a timeout, that's it, you're done. It never reconciles again if you did not like say have more retries or have infinite retries or something like that, right? The default is not retrying. Um, and this is a behavior that does not match customized controller. Customized controller would never get stuck on a failure. It would retry the default behavior of customized controller is okay, timeout. Then let's use spec.retry interval, which has a default. So even if you don't specify it, there's a retry that will be scheduled. And that's not the case in ham controller. Like there's no such thing. Until recently, when we did introduce policies, like strategies for upgrade and install, which is called retry on failure. So the default is remediate on failure, which is using rollback and uninstallation and things like that, right? Like the Helm actions for um, remediating an upgrade or an install. But you can opt into retry on failure. Retry on failure is like customized controller. There's no remediation, no rollback, no uninstall. Uh, it's just retry interval. The same field customized controller has. Same name. And um, so one thing I thought for this new feature, so this again, this is all because of the new feature of health check cancellation, right? Like you have a ham release that has a long timeout, you enable the cancellation, but you also did not configure anything else in the ham release. You did not fine-tune retry logic and everything. Boom, your ham release is stuck. It did not used to get stuck before. but now you enable this feature gate of health check cancellation, and now it does. So I am proposing as a fix for this, two fixes actually. One, that there's two behaviors at play here. One is like unrelated, more or less unrelated to, I mean, it's in Helm controller, but Helm controller reacts to readiness changes in the source. So ready changes from false to true, Helm controller reconciles in the chart. Uh, that does not match customized controller. We want to remove that. That's also something we changed. So I think in 2.7, I introduced a similar behavior in image reflector controller, which I actually did not fully understand when I did. And we had problems with that. Like that caused an impact. We had to ship some patches in Flux 2.7 to revert that and make it such that in Flux, like if the source is available, use it, even if the object responsible for the source is not ready. Like there's an artifact, use it, right? So the the predicates of the watches in Flux are always um, the artifact changed, reconcile, right? That's what customized controller does. Um, that's what we had to fix in image reflector controller in 2.7 in a patch. And now I want to do the same thing in Helm controller. So something caused source controller to restart, which caused a reconciliation that triggered something in the. So the reason is source controller probably did not have a persistent volume. That means the artifact is wiped from storage. That means source controller has to reconcile the object. That means source controller has to patch the object status with ready unknown. And then at the end, when it succeeds, back to ready true, right? So not ready, ready. This calls the cancellation in Helm controller. So this is some I filed a PR to fix this. So no longer reconcile on not ready, ready, right? Uh Readiness is not something that should matter. Um at least it doesn't for a customized controller. But I guess we'll see. uh And the other thing is I want to introduce a feature gate for changing the default of retries in Helm controller. So Helm controller has this uh, default retry mechanism that does not retry, right? As I was saying. And I want to change it to retry on failure, the new strategy that we introduced in 2.7. So when you enable this feature gate, you're going to use retry on failure, which is more like customized controller. So this feature gate is good for two reasons. Just for the reason of mirroring customized controller, and because now if you want to benefit from health check cancellation, you're more often gonna hit the scenario where your hem release will get the cancel the health check will get canceled. So you cannot so like more often ham releases will fail
And
and if the default
users don't
yeah
like being stuck in a terminal state.
exactly. So I want the health check cancellation because I don't want to get stuck on a full timeout, but I also don't want to get stuck on the failure caused by this gate. So now you need to enable two gates and ideas. So you enable both. My recommendation would be you enable both of them together and you're set.
It makes sense to me.
Yeah. So yeah, I opened these two PRs to remove the reconciliation on readiness change. And the default to retry on failure. Let's see what the gods think about it. Stefan and Hide. I mean, Hide already showed up in the PR. Thanks, Hide, if you ever watched this video. I reverted something I was removing because of this of his comment. But it is indeed a sort of a delicate change. It's not well, I mean, it's triggered by the new feature gate that we introduced in 2.8, but you would also observe this on a timeout before the gate. So yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess we'll see. There's more work that needs to be done on this PR. So I'll ping Stefan to review it. But yeah, I think at least the gate for defaulting to retry on failure is safe and will already help in this situation. Maybe we just need to merge this PR, which is very simple, like you don't enable the gate, nothing changes. You enable the gate, it will do what it promised. Yeah. So maybe only this one will get merged and the readiness change will not. Well, we'll see. Yeah, I expect to have more issues with Helm in the next months. All right. I guess that's it for updates. Took most of the meeting. I guess it's important. So I guess now we can open to like Deeply. Do you have anything else? You already asked.
Yeah, no, I just wanted to. I started working on the SSA drift ignore rules apply on the package thing just yesterday. I added some test cases. I think we discussed it a couple of weeks ago. Uh, so what I'm basically noticing is, and I added the changes to like remove the JSON pointer if so basically we'll add ignore rules which will have a set of JSON pointers and selectors, and if they are specified in your apply options, then before we do the apply, we would remove those the paths corresponding to those JSON pointers from the object that matches the selector, and then kind of do the apply. So in terms of test cases, I think last time we had discussed that we want to test scenarios where if we kind of ignore a field that is required, what is the behavior? If we ignore a field that is optional, what's the behavior? So I've added like a few test cases. I'm still refining on it and adding some more scenarios. But primary observation was that if we try to ignore required fields, then when we remove it from the spec, obviously it fails because, like for example, if on a deployment, if we try to ignore a selector field, a spec selector, or if there was only a single container and we try to ignore a spec.template.containers. So those are like mandatory fields on the spec. So if those we try to remove, then it obviously we get an error from the Kubernetes API server indicating that we're either it's a required value in the spec, or we are missing these immutable fields. So we cannot
All right.
ignore
So
those.
you added tests for those?
Yes, I added
For
some tests for those.
all right.
Yeah.
So you observed it happening, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So I guess it happens because you are the owner of the field. So as the owner, you have to specify it, right? That's the thing.
I added some tests specific to ownership as well. But here, so basically, suppose the first Flux goes and applies something, and then somebody takes over some managed fields. And if that managed fields are optional fields, then when Flux ignores it, that time Flux drops ownership of it, and the other manager who has claimed ownership continues to have ownership of those fields, and Flux completely goes and ignores it. But if there are fields in the spec that are required in general, then we are not allowed to like drop it in the patch that we send, is what I observed. But yeah, I'm going to add more tests, and I'll probably send a draft PR for all
Yeah,
of us to
if the,
kind of
so,
suggest
so
additional tests as well.
see if you can do a test like this. you start an object with an owner of a field, of a required field that is not Flux, like some other owner.
Mhm.
So in this case, server-side apply library should be able to apply without that field because there's already an owner, right? Which is not the owner used with the library, right?
Mhm.
So this should work, right? That's what I think. Like it makes sense that if you are the owner, you cannot not send a required field. But if there's already another owner, then you can. It would be maybe this is not even relevant to our code path. I don't know, but I guess it would be nice to have a test that I mean the most test that explains the intricacies of server-side apply to us through tests are the better, right? So if you can
Yeah.
add those as well.
Yeah. 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 So I have a few tests, and then I have few around orphaned fields as well. That is, if somebody claimed ownership and then dropped ownership of that field, and then customized controller tries to apply that, what happens? Yeah, I will send out a draft PR first, maybe, and if there are additional test cases that we want to try out, then I can add those as well.
Cool. Nice. Anything else from your side?
No, I think we already discussed the scope, like the ACR scope token and reducing that one. So that was the other one.
Cool.
So thanks.
All right, Adrian,
Yeah, hello. Well, we are running out of time, but I just wanna to share a pull request that I've been working on for yeah, for this
the ones
week's.
you added the screenshots.
Yeah, about the how to orchestrate the whole hotel trace span. I just added a parent-child orchestration around it, and yeah, I think it looks cool. We discussed in the previous no recorded meeting a little bit the approach. But yeah, well, any feedback is more than welcome. So yeah, just for you to know. You have their
Nice.
screenshots about different use cases. I already asked my colleagues if they can thoroughly test this like with some others and having kind of a bigger load.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
I saw the screenshots. They look really great. Like you showed at least three different scenarios there. Really
Yeah.
cool.
I added a fourth one at the end, and that one I think is the most impressive one because it's kind of a
Yeah.
collection of nested
Yeah,
traces and
so
spans.
there's a Git repo that is the source for customization that applies another Git repo that is the source for another customization that applies a Helm chart and OCI repo. And there's two releases that consume the Helm chart and three releases that consume the OCI repo. Is that correct?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Cool. So I can read it.
Yeah. Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. Really
Um,
cool.
and another thing that I just spotted, you were talking about this use hand three defaults, and I just wanted to test that, but I noticed that it's not on the website, so I'm going to create a pull request to add that in the feature gate section.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh yeah, I might have yeah. I I think I forgot. And recently I was reminded that I forgot, but I forgot that I was reminded that I forgot.
no, no worries. I have I will send the pull request in a few minutes. No worries.
Nice, thanks.
Yeah, I will mention you and then you can well review it if it looks good to
Cool.
you.
Yeah. Uh Helm 3. Yeah, not there. Thanks for noticing.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. Yeah,
Cool.
let me work on it. It should be
I think it's I think at least on the Helm release API docs, I added it. Let's see, use Helm. Yeah, it's there.
okay.
Because yeah, it went with the PR for the feature itself into the same repo, and it's relevant to be there because it changes the behavior of a couple of fields there. So that's why the gate is there. But it should also be in the controller options section as well. So thanks for
Yeah,
the reminder and for the PR that is about to be opened.
yeah, thank you. Thank you. I mean, what I
Thank
did is
you.
yeah, no problem. I just put it that because I ran the website that I thought, okay, let's check the source code. And then I
Yeah,
realized that it was there. Yeah,
yeah. Thank you
yeah.
uh,
Welcome.
for
Welcome.
noticing. All right. Anything else from your side?
No, all good. Thank you.
Cool. Kingdom, Augie, anything?
I don't have anything. But it was your updates were quite interesting. So thank you. I'll pass them on to
Cool.
DT.
Other than congratulations to the entire team on the Flux 2.8 release, I don't have anything else.
Nice. Cool. All right. So I guess we made it 1 hour. Not more, not less. All right. I guess I'll see you the next time.
Yep,
All right.
thank
So
you so
long,
much.
everybody.
Bye.
Bye,
Have a good
everybody.
week.
Thank you.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Goodbye.